It's called a lance. Hello?
Hello and welcome back to It's Called a Lance, a Dragonlance read-along book club. Joining, I am your host, Austin, co-host. Ignore the title. It's very weird now. Joining me today is, of course, M, or Auntie.
Hello. Hello.
And William SRD. Say hello, Will.
My mic disconnected. Now I'm saying hello. Hi.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's why people keep coming back to us, is for our production values.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, if you've noticed that the sound doesn't sound as good in this podcast, that's because we are recording on a lesser platform this time, and it's purely because I'm moving right now and some of my equipment is missing. So all of the audio is downgraded right now, just so I don't have to root through boxes.
Yes.
Do we start this podcast by asking how's everybody doing?
We could do that. I think the answer is just bad all across the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. All right, so we're not going to keep that in if it's not going to be positive. We're just going to fucking axe this entire segment. How's everybody doing? Bad.
Yeah. No, we'll keep it, and then we'll just move on to the next segment. I have an announcement for the podcast. Based off of the feedback I have gotten in the comment section, we are going to be making one change. We are officially moving to change, for the purpose of this podcast, the official pronunciation of Sturm to Strum. People like it. That is the official pronunciation now. We're going with it.
Wait, what?
What? Since when?
Do I need to reread the comments again? Because I don't do that anymore.
You don't do it? Well, it's time to start. It's time to start again.
I guess.
Fine, I guess we can stick with Sturm, but the
I
audience
was getting used. I was getting into their habit. Do you know the amount of times I had to reread his name? Do you know how often in our last episode I tried to avoid saying his name?
Mm-hmm.
And on a more serious note, I have a piece of fantasy news that I think everyone will enjoy in this podcast before we get started. Geneticists have successfully this year brought back dire wolves.
Hell yeah.
Like completely?
As completely as they can. They found all the old dire wolf DNA, and they took gray wolf DNA, and they just like punched out the differences and like put the dire wolf DNA in. So it's some real Jurassic Park shit.
Yep. We only had 3 movies and another, I think we're at 3 other movies, indicating how this cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm here for that.
So as cool as it is that we now have dire wolves, I have really bad news. And it's that geneticists are really bad at naming dire wolves.
Mm-hmm.
They have named them Romulus and Remus. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that one tracks.
And then their sister, Khaleesi.
What?
Right, pick the fucking motif and stick with it, you guys.
Yeah, what the fuck?
And they could have, Game of Thrones, absolutely you can use some Game of Thrones names for those dire wolves. That's an amazing idea. But what, you can't only name one of them after a Game of Thrones character. And then also, that the Game of Thrones character they picked is the one Game of Thrones character who had nothing to do with dire wolves at all.
Yeah, right. Again, you could have picked Ghost, Summer, Nymeria. I can't remember the other wolves' names.
Because they all had dire wolves.
Or the Stark kids.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my god, they are bad at this job.
Yeah, I think Romulus and Remus is great, but if they should have stuck. They should have done one or the other and stuck with it. They should have stuck with the Roman names. The last one was a girl, so There's not like, I mean, the Romans were pretty sexist, so there weren't a lot of prominent female Romans, but there's still some good
True.
ones. You could have named the third direwolf like Theodora.
Theodora
She was pretty
slaps.
great. You know.
Yeah.
Or they should have gone all Game of Thrones names. I don't respect. I respect their work at bringing back direwolves. I don't respect their inability to commit to a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I guess if we're sharing news, I got a kitten. Her name's Coconut. There's some pictures on Blue Sky.
A dire kitten.
I
Ooh.
hope not. I hope she's about the same size as Juniper when she's fully grown.
Does it not have a tail?
Juniper's a tiny kitten. It's great.
Indeed.
By
Auntie,
tiny
you
kitten,
posted
I mean
pictures of the direwolves.
I found pictures
Oh.
of the dire wolves, and they're cute and white, which I was not expecting. They're like
Yeah.
polar bear white.
I don't know. Maybe
It's apparently part of their genome. So
Pretty neat.
can we put pictures of those on the video when that goes live?
Sure. On the YouTube version, I can.
Yeah. And I guess check out Blue Sky or something. I don't know. Maybe one of us
people
will
can
post
just
a-
go on Google. Just dire wolves. Run those remus into Google. Pictures will come
Yeah.
right up.
So
Yeah, that's fair.
direwolves, they're back, coming to a forest near you.
Yeah.
Buy a long sword, and we'll get some adventures going for you.
Gosh.
Now I
Spear
guess
supremacy, y'all.
we can
White
get into
direwolves
Dragonlance now.
White direwolves just throws all of fantasy direwolves into disarray, though, because like they've always been portrayed as like black, right? Like very dark, scary looking wolves. But these look like really beautiful, majestic.
These are like the unicorns.
I dare
of
say
wolves.
slightly more majestic. Yeah, they're more majestic than like the gray wolves. Oh my god.
I'm just saying they look majestic until you see their muzzles. I don't know what the
Well, that's never
the
gonna
face
happen.
of a wolf. I don't know what those are called. It's coated in blood.
That won't
mean, yeah.
happen. Besides, I've seen polar bears covered in blood, and they're still cute.
Same here. Polar bears
the
are
dire-
adorable.
The direwolves are
Yeah.
just little guys. They would never do that.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I
as
guess
much as
it makes sense
I
they'd
assume,
be white too, because they were alive during an ice age.
True.
Huh.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. As much as I imagine everybody loves to hear about us talk about direwolves and cats, I think we're here to talk about something to do with lances or something.
Oh, something is called a lance, isn't it? And it's this pod.
Yeah. Mhm,
Yes, it is
mhm.
this podcast. All right. So last we left off, we were at chapter 17, and we are going right into the end of book 1.
Yes. Give us that
Yes.
summary, Austin.
All right. So this summary was written with great aid of a dear friend of mine, M.
Yep.
So I apologize for nothing.
Oh, good. Because I wanted to hear you say some of these words.
I proofread some of it and I kept it all in.
Excellent.
So, in this stretch of our first chronicle, the party delves deep into the ruins of Zoxaroth in search of the fabled discs of Mishakal. Along the way, they stumbled upon a tribe of gully dwarves forced into slave labor by the Draconians, who seem to really only exist for the sake of comedic relief and for the convenience of helping the heroes along in their quest. Raistlin develops an unlikely affection for one of the gully dwarves, a precious young woman named Bupu. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Probably because she seems to be the smartest dwarf in the room and their miracle worker, a quality that our sad man Raistlin identifies with, since he's the smartest companion in his party. With Bupu guiding them through Zoxaroth, the party is brought to meet the cowardly High Bloop, ruler of the Golly Dwarves. He agrees to offer them his help in exchange for dispatching the dragon Kisarath. Kisanth, thank you. Kisanth. See, one of these days I will get names right. It is not this day. But we learned that his help was really an excuse to get them out of the room after he sends a messenger to warn the Black Dragon layering in the ruins. Along the way, Raistlin mentions an ancient spellbook and asks his brother Caramon to keep an eye out for it in case they come across it. How does he know that it should be there? Who knows? He's Raistlin. He already seems to know everything, so we kind of just accept it and move on. After some more time delving into the ruins of Zoxaroth, the party finally reaches their final encounter with the Black Dragon. Say the name again.
Kisanth.
Kisanth. See, can we just like splice M in saying the name?
That's a lot of work.
Okay, then I will not do that. Kisanth, the fierce queen, the majestic mommy. I'm not saying this.
Say it. You just said you would.
The majestic mommy, the reason for the season.
And
yes, I'm
and
the little black dress in your wardrobe that clings just right. Consent.
There we go.
You wrote this just because you know Austin would be reading it, didn't you?
Exactly. Yep.
She's guarding more than the discs of Mishakal. Okay, I'm done. I'm out.
What? That was it? That thing keeps going on. It's totally normal again now.
Yeah, I know. Everything seems lost after Raistlin is captured, but Goldmoon offers a stunning act of sacrifice that seems to destroy Kisanth and Goldmoon, both while bringing Zoxaroth down around them. In the chaotic aftermath, the survivors retreat. The survivors retreat to the ruined temple, while Riverwind carries out a wounded Tanis. In the temple, the party finds Goldmoon, alive and well, and dedicated to the goddess Mishakal as the goddesses of life's new high priestess. That night, Bupu leaves Raistlin with the parting gift, the spellbook he had mentioned, after he tells her to return home, where she will be safe in a rare moment of affection and kindness for our boy. As dawn breaks, the companions look out over the horizon and see the fires of war reaching Solus.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
So chapter 17, huh? How about this one?
Chapter 17. Yes. That one was pretty good. I mean, it introduces one of the fan favorites.
Bupu?
Bupu, yeah.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Bupu because she was the smartest person, the second smartest person in the room, along with our boy Raistlin. And I stand by this.
The other great thing about chapter 17 that makes it so significant is this is the scene where if you weren't all in on Raistlin, you are now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
I agree.
His little magic spell on the gully dwarves and makes them all of his friends. And then, he comes off as very scheming and evil and stuff and like an authoritarian. But then like the second he's got these like gully dwarves as his subjects, he just like turns on like kindly father mode, and it's so unexpected.
Yeah,
right?
Because that is the one reading I took, is Raistlin is the only one who isn't kind of a dick to the gully dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is harshing on these poor little dudes mellow, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Feels bad, man.
There's definitely, it's definitely meant, I think, to reveal an element of Raistlin where like because he has such a persecution complex himself, right? Like, sees something in at least in Bupu, something that he can like relate with, and I think that brings out his what capacity for empathy remains within him, or what capacity for empathy he simply conceals. Who knows?
Do you think this is a special case of Raceland specifically really vibing with these gully dwarves, or do you think this is kind of like what Raceland does with power? Do you think he's benevolent with his power?
So it is, as the person who has not read any further into the books, it's hard for me to say. I'm hoping it is the latter. And that when he has unlimited power, he's just kind of a chill dude. I don't know that for the future. So,
yeah, Raceland's an interesting character in that way because he will present himself right in a variety of different ways, at different times, depending on his goals, I suppose. I think that even when we see him with someone he really likes, if his affection for them is contrary to his goal, he will tend to be a huge asshole to them regardless. Whereas like in this case, of course, being kindly to the gully dwarves in general facilitates his goal. But I do think that Bupu it has something special about her. That he vibes with specifically. I don't think he vibes with the gully dwarves as a group. But I do think he vibes with Bupu specifically.
Yeah.
That's fair. I will say, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I will say though, to add a little bit of different perspective from outside of the story itself, in the days of advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the charm spell lasts, or the friendship spell, charm spell lasts like quite a long time, and also requires generally that you still facilitate through your own behavior the behavior you want from the person, right? Who you've magicked. So if you were to use friendship or some such spell on someone and you wanted them to treat you kindly, you would have to treat them kindly in return. You couldn't just be a jerk and they'd fall all over you anyway. So there's probably an element of that as well. I think that as these last 6 chapters sort of progress until book 2, section 2 of novel 1, I do think his feelings for Bupu develop into something more authentic.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't proven herself to him yet,
Yeah, that's true. The other character we really hear from this chapter is Flint, who Flint has some history with gully dwarves. Flint is, of course, the eternally racist uncle. But in this case, he's got some personal stuff. It's one of those things. If you meet like someone who got out of World War II and they hate Germans for the rest of their lives, who's gonna blame them? You find someone who was like left in a prison camp in some war and they hate that nationality for the rest of their lives. Who's gonna blame them? In this case, similar situation. Flint was imprisoned by gully dwarves for quite a few years and not treated terribly well. So this might be the one instance where it's like, okay, Flint, you're allowed to be a little bitter.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, there were a number of, for instance, soldiers on the Pacific Front of World War II who were left stuck on Pacific Islands from all of the island hopping and everything, and they came back actually with rather high opinions of the Japanese people. That's fair. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that Flint, especially when you're as long lived as a dwarf, right? Like, I would honestly expect. I mean, I know in fantasy we always portray dwarves as unchanging and unyielding and grumpy, which is very much his archetype. But I do think that he should have some perspective, right? I was imprisoned by gully dwarves for a few years. What's a few years to it? Yeah. But yeah, he's just so where I think Flint is kind of still falling short. Though he's just so like vocal about it.
Well, and I think maybe the interesting thing with Flint here is I think maybe it's just for show, because Flint, he does this big thing about how he's absolutely not going in there. He's not going to talk to the gully dwarves. You can't make him. And then they give him the out of like, oh, well, someone's got to keep the gully dwarves in line. And Flint goes, yeah, okay. And then never really says anything to the gully dwarves the whole time. So
Right.
I think in a sense, I think his mouth is a lot hotter than his actual heart when it comes to a lot of the stuff he's saying.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's still a good person at his core, right? But I do think that he, I don't know. I mean, I think that his grumpiness with them gets I think it's kind of I think it's kind of there to how to put this, because like at one point, for instance, I have the book here, page 159 for the big book, where he says like that they have the brains of a doorknob, right? But he's saying that in response, essentially, to Goldmoon, who, when she sees the gully dwarves, she's immediately like struck. She's like, do they all look like that? They're so filthy and ragged, and there are sores all over her bodies. And Flint, it sounds almost like he's either disagreeing with her display of care for them, or he's misunderstanding it as a criticism of them, and he's going along with it. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
But I think there's like a contrast there between like the two ways that two different people in the same party are going to be viewing them, the gully dwarves.
Yeah.
I don't know if Flint has grown. I don't know if Flint has grown through his feelings for non-dwarven peoples at this point in the book, and I can't actually remember if he ever will. But also, this is of course a relic from at least with the goblins, it's a relic from the AD&D days as well.
This is true.
Yeah.
Do we have much else to talk about in this chapter?
Well, a little bit. I mean, I think that one thing, it's the first chapter in these last 6, right? And it kind of, I don't know if we would call this foreshadowing, but maybe it is, or it's very distant foreshadowing if it is, but it also is very close foreshadowing for later in, I believe, chapter 20. But when they're descending these stairs down into like lower Zaxaroth, right? And Raistlin just kind of enigmatically names them as the Paths of the Dead. And Tanis is like, what? And he's like, the Paths of the Dead, that's the name of these stairs. And then they're all like, well, how the hell do you know that? And he's like, I've read stuff about the city.
Because I've read Lord of the Rings, obviously.
Yeah, dude,
Jesus,
I know what a book is.
Yeah, but like even then, it's a little mysterious, I think, about how he knows all of these details, and it'll become even more mysterious in a couple chapters. But although I will say, it's also, I think this might be Will, if you ever want to do a history video on a history short on a meme or something, this might be the very first instance of the while you were doing blank, I studied the blade. Because right there, when Sturm is like, what else do you know that you haven't told us? And Sturm says, or Raistlin says, a great many things, knight. While you and my brother played with wooden swords, I spent my time in study. So yeah,
I read books, you nerds.
So, I mean, that could be the first moment.
This is when it all went downhill.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sticking with that answer.
Somewhere down the line, an edgelord with a fedora and a katana and a fond childhood love of Raistlin would drag that memory out of the primordial depths of their brain and turn it into a meme about their favorite sword.
Yeah.
Well, but I think that's it for that chapter mainly. Other than, again, they kind of are the companions are kind of arguing with each other still.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Before we move on from this chapter completely, Austin, new reader.
What's up?
Is this a significant Raistlin milestone for you?
Yes. So because all I do is hang out with M most of the time, we did have this conversation on who my favorite characters are becoming, and it's definitely our boy Raceland and Tasselhoff, which is surprising me because I came into this only knowing about the Kender from internet memes, and I hate to say it, 4chan posts from way back in the day.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm old. Leave me alone. And that kind of colored my opinion on what Kenders were like. And boy, howdy, is it just reminding me that it's players who suck at playing Kenders, not Kenders.
Yeah, it's true.
Correct. Yep. Could not agree more.
Yeah. So, anyways, onwards to chapter 18.
Onwards, indeed.
The basket rumble.
Oh my god. This is probably this fight is probably my favorite fight in the history of Dungeons and Dragons. But
the Cauldron Bowl.
Oh man, see, if we had production value, that's where we would do the high energy like air horns.
Oh yeah.
You just watch me, I'll put them in.
There we go.
Yeah. You know, like Clegane Bowl. Yeah, so fucking giant metal pots coming up and down, being controlled by chains, and a fight in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fucking metal.
You can see, like, and there was that moment where they were like, oh no, the Draconians are coming up, and Caramon's just like, I can do this. He just leaps from the side. Have you guys seen that? Like, I think someone did it for a TikTok, but it was like this massive, muscular Viking looking dude, like jumps off a freaking waterfall with like 2 axes. Did you guys?
I have not, but
it looks exact like the way he jumps off that waterfall is exactly how I picture Caramon jumping into that bowl. Just
my God.
He's like face plant charging towards them with his weapon out.
Yeah, I mean it's dramatic. It's a very dramatic moment in that fight.
I motion we take a quick 2-second pause here. Well, 15-ish second pause.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll find this. Okay, I found the video.
I got you back, homie.
Okay.
Oh, right into the cold water, dude. Okay.
Yeah. Not a singular fuck was given that day.
Damn.
Yeah.
So the battle cry.
That's how I picture Caramon jumping.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Wow. Caramon woke up this morning and, well, Raceland was studying his spell book. Caramon chose violence. Not at that moment, but at some point in this day, violence will happen, and boy, howdy did it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yup.
Yeah.
I guess there's not a lot of specifics to talk about in this chapter because it's just kind of a fight scene, but like it does go to show that like there's some real imagination with some of the fight scenes. It's not just then they kill some Draconians again. They're already spicing it up, and this is only the 3rd fight in the book.
Yeah, well, and you know, it's also we've been talking about this in another project a couple times. But you know, it's a gimmick fight, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really good one because, you know, at least to drag it back into game terms again, like, you know, I think it's probably one of the more creative battles that we see in like the sort of the AD&D or maybe even the Dragonlance canon or the Dungeons and Dragons canon entirely, because not only have they created a battlefield that is highly restricted, right? Because your room for maneuverability is limited to these pots, and whatever skill checks you can make to jump between them. But also like they're counterweights, and so depending on the action of the fight, the 2 platforms are either above one is above the other or it's below it, right? They're constantly, it's not common that they're at the same level. And that adds a lot of dynamism to the fight. And then you add in as well the fact that like the Draconians, because it was a couple days ago, but if I recall, they aren't just fighting the Draconians who turn to stone in this one. I think they also fight the ones who melt. Is that correct?
I don't remember,
but
actually.
I don't remember either. I think they do, but the Kapak. I'm like scanning the page right now to see if they did, but no, maybe not. Random plans follow Goldie's lineup occur. Yep. No, maybe not.
That'd be a really bad place to fight those guys.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, each Draconians in general are instant obstacles, right? It's one of those things where, like, okay, you've defeated the enemy, but now the enemy has become a battlefield obstacle. Either they're a block of stone that is like entrapped your weapon potentially, or they have dissolved into like a puddle of acid that will now be, something that will cause damage if you enter it at all. Like, stuff of that nature. It's very the way they were thinking about combat and monster design and like battlefield design, I think was really advanced.
And this feels like a good tabletop fight. This doesn't feel like a fantasy novel fight. It feels like they were thinking about the battle map and like not quite the turn order, but like the mechanics of all of this. And it's really a strength of this scene. Yep,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and seeing it in narrative form like this, I think really drives that home. Seeing it in the novel, the way that it's written out, really sort of descriptive. It gives you a sense for like, okay, this fight is definitely going to be the kind of fight like the players, for instance, would go home being like, oh my God, like that's the fight they're going to remember, right? I like it so much. It's been my favorite. It's been my favorite for decades.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten about it. I don't remember. Is it in the Dragonlance cartoon, this scene? I can't imagine if they did that they did it justice. I hope it wasn't.
I don't remember.
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to.
I don't think I watched that far.
We will do a watch along at the end of this. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I'm so sorry for everyone involved.
But because this scene is so like, it's so cinematic that like I want to see it on screen, but done well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely, like, it kind of has that, for me, a kind of a pulpy feel, like, what you would read from, like, an Eberron sort of deal of, sword fights over volcanoes and stuff.
Yeah, and super pulp.
Yeah, and I love it. But, that's just me and my love of pulp fiction.
They've got that cool thing of, like, not only is, like, the stage itself moving, but they're also, like, really crammed into it, and every time a new person climbs down the chain, it gets even more crowded. Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. And then other than the fight, of course, we just see Bupu offering some of her healing medicines, as it were, her chicanery. Her little lizards and things that she offers people, and which is this is actually, I think this is maybe the moment where Raceland starts to actually like Bupu. Is when she's offering to heal him, right? Like she's like, I've got magic, and he's like, what? And but then Tasselhoff is like, no, there's like a switch and like floor locks. Like she's doing like magic in the sense of like a magician does magic, right? Not a wizard. And this will tie into a detail about Raceland later on, but I think when he discovers this like aspect of Bupu more and starts to sort of see it, I think it gives him even more that he can relate to her through, and I find that quite cool.
Absolutely,
yeah. He likes people who remind him of himself.
Yeah, like most egomaniacs. So, chapter 19.
Chapter
this is
19.
Where we get to meet His Majesty, the High Bloop.
The High Bulp.
High Bulp. High Bulp, is that how we're doing that? High Bulp stop me any of the other times?
Yeah, we didn't stop you. He can be High Bloop in the summary. That's okay.
That's okay. See, this is
Put
why
some
I don't read
respect on his
comments.
title.
This is great. I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep now with the kitten. And it's all your fault.
Mhm. True.
I love the high bulb though. His
I
character
do
is so
too.
strong. Fudge.
Yeah.
High bulb
Yep.
fudge. It's just
The
such a
first.
good. It's one of those like. I was taught in my writing classes in university that like one of the things that's so strong about comedy is like there are names to characters in comedy where like you just hear this person's name and you know exactly who it is. High bulb fudge is one of those names. You know
Definitely.
exactly who this man is.
He's High Bulb Fudge, the first, the great. Full
That'll be
name.
his name.
The first, the great is my favorite part.
He's sleazy. He's greedy. He's a schemer. He's smarter than most, but not as smart as like the adventurers. He's great.
Is he?
Or is he?
Yeah.
You know, I was having this thought. Oh, do you want to say something, Austin?
Oh yeah. Well, he did pull a fast one on our heroes, so you know
he did.
He does pull a fast one on them. After giving them ample this is one of the funny moments, one of the sort of the comedy moments, right? Is where he keeps saying like, "Oh, so they keep mentioning the dragon." He's like, "Oh, so you'll go and destroy the dragon?" And then Tanis each time is like, "No," and then like a couple sentences later, "So when that will be when you destroy the dragon?" Tanis is like, "No," like he keeps saying, "No, like we're not." We're not.
We are currently level 6. That is an adult dragon. One of these things is not happening.
Yeah. And so it's just like the whole thing. And then he's like, okay, fine, they're not actually going to do it. I have to come up with my own way to get them to have this fight that I need them to have for the sake of my rule, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is super interesting because I mean, when I was a kid, I remember reading the Gully Dwarves and thinking that they were, and only really getting a very surface level interpretation of them lodged in my brain, right? Which is like, oh, they're short, they're funny, they can't count, blah 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 blah. But over time, life experience has taught me otherwise, and so seeing this written this way in the book kind of reaffirms something that I've believed for a while now about the Gully Dwarves, which is that like they're not actually like that much worse off than anyone else. Like certainly they're uneducated, but like probably especially so in like the common language, right? But that's because they have this history of, you know, disenfranchisement by dwarves and gnomes alike. And because they are, of course, if you read the ancient lore, they are essentially the descendants of like half dwarf, half gnome pairings. But you know, Bupu is quite emotionally intelligent, and Highbolt Fudge is like, I mean, he's a guy. Like he talks funny, but he's 100% just a guy. Like he's thinking about it in terms of like, you know, he has a limited perspective, and we see that in his worldview. He's literally only concerned about like the 20 or 30 gully dwarves he rules over. But he's still approaching it with the machinations and like the shrewd kind of like subtleties that like one would expect from a potentially slightly corrupt ruler.
Exactly. And like the gully dwarves, like they've got a pretty normal like way of being. They invent things down here. They don't have a lot of difficulty surviving down here until the like draconians and the dragons broke in. You know, like they're not too good at words and they're bad at counting, but they're not especially primitive as societies go. And sure, they make some jokes about how like garish they are with like using the like ruins of the old world here. But like I have seen some of the ways that medieval emperors decorated shit. Garishness was on the table.
Absolutely.
I've seen how some people today decorate their places. Yeah. Garrishness has not gone away.
Have you guys seen the Holy Roman Emperor crown? That thing looks terrible.
It does.
I'll drop a link in the chat.
Yes. But, I would even say that even with them not, quote, like, we don't even necessarily know if they actually don't count well. They don't count in common very well, but even in real life, there are real life languages where, like, the amount of numbers available to you, like, ends abruptly, like, more abruptly than it does in other languages, right? Like, I think in old Japanese, like, the highest you could actually count was, like easily was like 10,000, and that's why so many like Japanese metaphors and proverbs are like 10,000 steps, 10,000 this thing lives 10,000 years, it becomes a monster. Like it's because like that's just where the counting stops for a long time in history. Yep. Same thing with I think even some Romance languages. Like after a certain point, you just start repeating numbers that already exist, right?
Yeah,
and that's what she does. Bupu does some counting, and she's like 2 and 2 and 2 and 1. Like, okay, we know that 2 means a grouping of 2, or it can mean many things to them. You know, they have a counting system that is as efficient as they need it to be, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I feel like there was maybe more sophisticated thinking going on in the heads of Wise and Hickman than they're sometimes given credit for with these things. They didn't shy away from what we would potentially consider like a problematic like representation of like a people, but like they don't shy away from using that. But I think so far we've seen, I think they squeeze a lot of nuance in there actually. Or at least for people who have like the kind of worldview that would allow them to see it anyway.
Yeah, and they also don't feel like they're like a caricature of any specific ethnicity, like a real world ethnicity.
Yeah, they're more like children, right?
I remembered them being a lot worse than they were. They're just like they just act like children, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They're just like little feral dwarves.
Yep. I do have one critique of them though. Not in terms of like the way they're written, but the way that they like took those tapestries and painted over them and like wrapped and like nailed them to the walls and stuff. You know, you're like, aha, that's so funny. They decorate things really weird. And then like I actually like stopped to think about it, and I'm like, well, what if like some steppe nomad came in and like took the bayou tapestry and like painted over it because he didn't like the colors and nailed it to his tent? I would be devastated at the lost history. And that's kind of what's happened here. The damage they have done to this historical site.
Yeah, they repainted the little face of the Jesus on the wall, right? Like
yeah, oh man.
So yeah, it's a thing. Look at that crown. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that crown is fucking awful. I kind of want.
You want the Reichskrown?
Yeah, well, because it's probably worth more than my entire house. So I can buy a new house.
Jewels are probably crazy.
Yeah.
See, that all they had was like wealth. They like didn't have taste. They were just like staple every jewel to this crown we can get.
Yep.
Glue it on. Get another one.
Was it even always a crown? It looks like it was panels or something, or like it could fold. I don't even.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe to fit over a helmet or something.
Oh,
but you know which crown I kind of still like? The
what
British
crown
royal crown. You know, the more modern one. That is a nice crown.
So I prefer a diadem myself, but you know.
Boo.
What's wrong with a diadem?
Absolutely nothing. But where's the fucking extravagance?
Oh, well, you know, there are some extravagant diadems. You'll find them. Look them up on the internet. Especially if you don't know what a diadem is, dear listener.
I don't want to look them up on the internet.
A treat.
That sounds like work. But anyways, we're not here to talk about crowns.
Correct.
No.
Yet.
What else happens in this chapter? Does anything significant other than meeting with the High Bulb? Is that where it ends?
They get
after you, Em.
I was gonna say they get the map from High Bulb. He contacts Casanth. At some point, they then like fall down a shaft and land in a bunch of flour.
Right.
Another comedic moment for the pacing. Oh no, sorry, that happened at the end of chapter 18.
Right.
That was in this chapter.
I do enjoy after they get the map, they're like, all right, let's get to work. And then they like unfold the map and they're like, wow, this thing's worthless.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's a bad map, but I love it.
Yep. Now, something else that does happen in chapter 19 is while they're sort of exploring, right, they end up kind of overhearing this is before they actually meet the High Bulb, though, I think, right? Is they overhear a conversation between the Draconians and Casanth. One in which Lord Verminard is mentioned again by name as well.
Yeah, and they find out, I think it's later they find out he's a cleric.
I think it's much later that they find out he's a cleric, yeah.
We do find out about it between now and book, by the end of book 2.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because at the start of book 2, because I know that Verminard is a cleric.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was
in the confrontation with Casanth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's
and after we find a resurrected gold moon, somebody said, well, they've got a cleric with like 8 with a lot more experience than we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I guess we can get into that next chapter where it becomes an impromptu heist.
Yes.
Yeah.
In chapter 20, the impromptu heist. No.
So
it opens with the picture of the map. Oh,
and I love it. It's a bad map, but it makes perfect sense.
Yep.
This is how I feel trying to glean details off the map in the front of the book.
Really?
The map in the front of the book's not very good.
I'm a hater.
I love maps. It's like my weird thing. I need to buy more maps, but maps are expensive.
They can be, but you can always make your own. I mean, just all you need is apparently a piece of vellum, a Sharpie, and a vague sense of the direction you're supposed to be going. So, you know.
I have made some of my own maps. So back when I was doing some cartography, which is not a story for here or now, and nor is it a very interesting story.
Fair enough.
Fair.
So we wander off into the darkness, I believe, with the vague plan that Raistlin and Bupu are going to cause a distraction to lure the dragon out.
Yeah, because it makes sense.
Yeah, because you don't want to fight the dragon, even though Caramon says, let's fight the dragon.
Yeah, because like my money is strictly on Caramon because, well, he woke up and chose violence.
It's usually how he solves his problems.
He just needs a ledge and a plunging attack, and then the dragon would be dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
They yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going.
I was going to say, they wander into darkness so thick that even Tanis's elven eyes get called out mechanically by name. Be like, no, those don't work in this darkness.
Yes, almost as if it was magical darkness.
Yeah, almost as if someone was expecting them who can cast magical darkness.
That we know that she cannot see through, but you know.
Ooh.
And then very suddenly, all at once, they think they're still walking down the tunnel, and suddenly Casanth like tears the darkness away and is like, surprise.
Yeah, because she's got a flair for the dramatic.
Yep.
Which brings us to chapter 21. But one other thing in 20 that I think was pretty important, this is what I was alluding to with the staircase from chapter 17, is that Raistlin at one point mentions a spell book to Caramon that he expects to be in the lair of the dragon. And he's saying, if you see a book, right, grab it because I need it. And it is, of course, the spell book of Fistandantilus. And they're like, well, how do you know that the book's going to be there? And he's like, oh, well, I read it in a book when I was at magic school, with the other wizards. And we all know about it. Everybody knows about it. It's common knowledge. We all thought it was destroyed, though. But then, and it's like, okay, so maybe he really is just that well read, and that's why he knows all these things.
It is suspicious no one went to go check, but
Yeah, exactly. And when Raistlin is describing the book, Caramon's like, well, whose book was it? And then there's this line of Raistlin fell silent, his golden eyes abstracted as if he were searching inwardly, trying to remember something forgotten. And that is that what I sort of meant by there's the staircase is like a very close bit of foreshadowing for this moment, which is itself then really distant foreshadowing for something very significant, I think, and crucial for the character. So that's again once I think I say this at some point every episode, really expert foreshadowing from from Margaret Wise. Constantly, just all the time.
Yep.
It's just always, I'm like, it's so good to see it. And so I definitely think that this is I'm increasingly remembering that this is a series that people should reread. If only because, you pick up so much more, I think, once you've read through it once before.
Yeah, I agree. Man, maybe we should start a podcast or something to read this book or something.
Maybe.
Someone should look into that. But I also like that Raistlin very much is minimizing this book. He's like, oh, it's just this book of Fistandantilus, but when he was young, very young, younger, and you wouldn't know him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everybody else knows about it too. That's how.
What color robes did he wear? It doesn't matter. He was really young when he wrote this.
He was. Yeah. Come on, this was back in his edgy teenage phase. He was probably trying on the black robes. Who amongst us hasn't worn the black robes every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what color of robes he ended up wearing. This spell book probably just had that funny little S shape people used to draw in school. That's all that's in this thing.
Yeah. Oh man, we all know the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So again, as somebody who has not read it, that's an evil book, right? I'm calling it. That's an evil book.
Well, it's a spell book, so.
It's an evil spell book. It's a spell book of evil. Have not read. Sorry for anyone else who has not read, but that is my educated guess.
It's possible.
It's likely.
It is possible. Yeah. I'm sure we'll I mean, it's best to forget about it though. I don't think we'll learn anything else about old Fisty Bones.
Yeah. Okay.
Ever again, probably.
Sorry, but. Old Fisty.
Old Fisty Bones. Yeah.
God, Em, why would you say Old Fisty?
Old Fisty Bones. It's an old nickname for Fistandantilus. Truly, it's an ancient. People like to call him Fisty and Fisty Bones.
I got
why? What? It's because his name is Fistandan. It's just the first part of his name, Fisty.
Yeah. Em, I understand, buddy.
What do you want to just call him, Dan?
Yeah, actually, probably. I'd hang out. See, when somebody's nickname is Fisty, I don't want to hang out with that dude. I'm either getting punched or some other unspeakable horrors. Dan, I would hang out with a guy named Dan. Dan seems cool.
Fair.
No, he's just his real name is Dantilus, and he's a member of the Flaming Fist. He's Fistandantilus.
Yeah. And as that brings us to chapter 21, where we see a lovely rendering of Kisanth.
Oh, yeah. The beautiful
very
black dragon.
Yes. I mean, very much a kind of a generic, I feel like it's a generic, 1980s, 1970s style dragon. Like you might see in like
has that like a little bit of like the cartoon eyes as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least in my copy, she has whiskers and it looks very nice.
She does have whiskers. It's true. Mm-hmm.
She almost looks like her snout is a bug with those whiskers. They look like legs.
A little
bit. Mm-hmm.
But I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Well, black dragons are supposed to look like pretty much like they belong in a swamp. So I think it works.
I agree. I like that idea of like catfish whiskers or something on it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool stuff. And here, of course, is the encounter. So this is, of course, the encounter with Kisanth, who has appeared.
Yeah, and like I said,
from her darkness.
It is a 6th level adventuring party. Sure, they are an oversized 6th level party, so they can handle like some harder challenges. But in game terms, this appears to be an adult dragon, and I know who my money's on.
Well, and their power curves have probably got to be pretty warped because in AD&D terms, this is a party of like all fighters except for 3 of them.
Well, yeah.
What else?
But everybody wants to fight this dragon all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then they find out after Sturm immediately is like, for the 1,000th time, Sturm goes, "It's Raceland. He did this."
Raceland was the sudden but inevitable betrayer.
Man.
And then kind of the big reveal is that Kisanth has Raceland literally like in her palm.
Mm-hmm. Lucky bastard. I mean, what? What?
You're the one who made me say it. But anyways, yeah, so lucky bastard.
When you were admiring this dragon so much, I didn't know you meant it like that. But now, in retrospect, I feel like a fool for not noticing.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
Mm-hmm. She's just so. I love. Like, she makes such an impression. One, she's like the book series first dragon, but she really makes a big impression in the book with like just the dialogue. She doesn't get a lot of it, but like the whole exchange where they're like, Caramont's like, "No, fight me. You should fight with me," and she's like, "I don't want to fight any of you."
Yeah,
she's like, "I just want to get the thing."
It's not.
Yeah, she's like, "Look." It's very rare that the villain is like, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. Personally, I'd prefer the easy way. Normally, they're like, give me the hard way. They're excited about that. And she's just like, actually, I'd really prefer that we not do this at all. If you could just put the stick back where you found it and go.
Like, become my prisoner, and then we can all get along. Like, it's Tuesday night. I've got better things. I have other things I'd rather do right now.
It's a level of like dismissal of the adventurers that comes off quite intimidating. When I first read this book, because I mentioned that like I've reread the first book like a bunch of times in middle school. That's only kind of half the truth because as we've been making this podcast, I've like rediscovered that the copy that I was reading was like the kids version, which is like it's all the same like word for word and everything, but it's like split in half where it says like end of book 1 here, and then like there's just book 2 still, and it's still Dragons of Autumn Twilight. That's where my copy just ended. It was a much smaller version just called A Rumor of Dragons. And so like for me, for the longest time until I eventually discovered the rest of the series a couple years later, Kisanth was the bad guy of Dragonlance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, exactly. Whereas in fact, she's just the bad guy of the very first book of Dragonlance.
half the first book.
Well, no, of book one. Now we're moving on to book 2.
Of the first novel.
Of the first
novel. Yeah.
Yes.
I should use those words less interchangeably because this series is forcing me to.
Right. Let's see. So, what are some things that happen? How do they approach this fight? What's going on?
So they don't approach the fight because Gold Moon steps forward to sacrifice herself for the party. Although she's got a little trick up her sleeve, and then we get this little thing that I'd half forgotten about, but that Auntie clearly remembered better than me. Is that as Gold Moon's like kind of saying her goodbyes, there's a little something with Tanis, isn't there?
Oh,
there's a little something there.
That's because, have you looked at Tanis?
I mean, Tanis is just kind of like that. See, for years I remembered that I remembered that as a kid I didn't like Riverwood and I shipped Tanis and Gold Moon because I was desperate for there to be some romance in this book. And I was looking back, I thought that my mind just invented that. But no, it's there. Raceland calls it out in this book and is like, I see why Riverwind and Tanis are so into her. And it's there in writing. I thought I was crazy.
Yeah. It is there. No, I mean it's 100%. Well, wait, do you mean Tanis or do you mean Sturm?
I mean Tanis.
Tanis, that's right. This is the revelation of his. Maybe not. I mean, he's not a. He is a fuckboy, but
that's what I think it is. You've just been calling him a fuckboy this whole time, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I know where his story goes, but I don't know if he's a fuckboy. Now reading this with Gold Moon, I'm like, he's a fuckboy, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Oh God.
So the thing that I'm mentioning specifically for if I'm not making it clear is that as Gold Moon is saying her goodbyes, she's having this conversation in Tanis's arms with Riverwind watching.
Yep. Ooh, get that man a chair. Some people in the audience will know what that joke is about. And then she goes up. She starts to approach Chrysanthemum with Sturm, actually, who she's like, if you're going to come with me, you have to promise to do exactly what I say and nothing else. And he's like, okay. But then we get, I think, a really interesting bit of insight into the mind and the interior world of Raceland. This whole last half of this book, these last 6 chapters really do feel very strongly about who Raceland is as a character, right? They give you all of this kindness to confuse you, and then they give you this interior look into his mind as he's trying to prepare a spell to do something to Chrysanthemum while she has him trapped. Yeah, and he speaks with a disembodied voice that he's lamenting. He's like, why should I die when my life is more valuable than my friends, which is than my friends, which is a bit rude. But then this voice comes to him and it's like, you're not even doing it for them. You're doing it because you can't stand to be defeated, right? You never lose. And that voice is described as only ever coming to him when he's close to death.
It's true.
Which is a deepening mystery about this man.
Yeah, of who is he and what does he do? And why does he know fucking everything?
Yes, who is he? What does he do? And why does he know everything, Austin? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mystery builds. It's been so long that I don't remember. Like, I remember Raceland's vibes, but I don't remember the answers to the mysteries. So I'm excited to rediscover.
I am also excited to discover more of the mysteries of Raceland.
Yeah, it may take even another 2 books to even possibly another 5 books to uncover them all.
Oh no, not 5 books.
5 books, possibly. It's not that there's a second trilogy in Dragonlance dedicated entirely to the mystery of this man.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is he becomes the Soul Forged, whatever that means.
He doesn't become the Soul Forge.
I'm just saying, I only know of Raceland from before this from the Blind Guardian song.
Fair. And then, of course, Gold Moon is and sort of has a meaningful look exchanged with Raceland, and she's like, "No, don't do it. Don't ruin the plan."
Yeah, because Raceland had a spell. Well, so the plan is she is gonna walk up to Casanth with the staff. Well, Strum is accompanying her. Strum is gonna go fetch the discs. Well, she does stuff, which wildly comes down to bonking a dragon with a stick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. It's a good plan.
She bonks him. She bonks Casanth, and
it works real good.
Fireworks,
but
it
also
works
real
good.
Yeah. Honestly, probably works a little too good. She should have dropped the staff about halfway through.
Well, I have a theory that it really wasn't the staff doing this to Casanth, because one, its stats in the game don't do this, but two, one of the things that's asserted in a lot of the Dragonlance stuff, especially from the era in which the book was written, is that, and they'll say it in the books, I believe later on, is that only like one thing, right, like can kill a dragon. And one thing wielded by a mortal can kill a dragon, and that's of course like what the Dragonlance that the series is named after. And this was something I've always wondered about as a kid, and so I'm like, I really feel like this is actually like Gold Moon is doing a thing, and that thing is just like her showing Mishakal that she's like genuine, right? The genuine deal, which Mishakal already knows.
Because she was willing to sacrifice her life.
And so I think this is a god just reaching down with her finger and being like, boop, right onto the, right on the dragon. Loving. And that power is just a little too much.
Yep. Too much power.
Too much. I actually think that Mishakal's probably quite present in this scene because, when Gold Moon and Raceland are exchanging that meaningful look, Raceland actually hears her voice telepathically in his head.
Yeah.
Right? Which is abnormal.
I also think that there's some symbolism a little bit in the fact, and it feels very Christian in a way, that like the whole like rediscovering the lost gods was fundamentally like Gold Moon gets a lot of the credit, but this was definitely a dual act between her and Riverwind, and they both had to like be sacrificed and burn and be reborn for this.
Yeah,
that's true. That's actually
the book doesn't like make a point about that, but it does happen.
Right. Yeah,
that very much is in fact, yeah.
Huh. That's a new analysis for me.
Well, fuck me, yeah.
Damn.
I don't know that this analysis goes anywhere, but it is interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's super interesting. Huh. Neat. No, that's actually that's a really cool parallel. I like that. I like that symmetry. It's like an entwining of their fates, of their destinies.
Yeah.
As the Dragonlance, the true Dragonlance power couple that nobody talks about.
It's true. And then, because she has burned, Raceland falls to his knees. Or not Raceland, Riverwood.
Yes.
Riverwind. Damn it, Skyrim.
It's not only me who screws up names.
It's just going to be me with that same name over and over for all the books.
Don't worry, all the Dragon Rim and Skylance fans won't judge you for it.
Yeah, so he falls to his knees. He doesn't want to leave. Raceland can't find the book. He doesn't want to leave. So we're once again in this classic D&D-ness where they have to like negotiate with the party members to like save themselves.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Yeah, can you repeat that? Actually,
yeah. So
my brain spaced out there for a second.
Yeah. So, but Riverwind collapses and doesn't want to leave because Goldmoon's dead. Right. And also Raceland doesn't want to leave because he hasn't found the book yet. And so the party now has to do those like D&D party negotiations to get these two to like care about their own self-interest and leave.
Yeah. It makes one think that maybe the overexertion of divine power was actually part of the plan. Because if they're willing to stay down there for an extended period of time, and that might have led to some kind of defeat. Because of course, the ruins are still filled with Draconians.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And they've been pretty careful around large numbers of Draconians in the past, and this defeat was really kind of a Deus Ex Machina situation rather than like a traditional defeat of the villain that reveals their personal power. So I think it would have been a bad idea maybe for them to stay, like for Riverwind to be like, no, I'm not going, and for Raceland to be like, I have to find the book. Maybe Mishakal knew this was the case and was like, I have to actually put their lives on the line to get them out of this room. Which is to say, the dungeon master was like, had to get the party out of the room. This dungeon is done, guys. We're done. You've completed its purpose. Go.
And that's exactly what happens. Is a brick falls out of nowhere and knocks Tannis out, and now Riverwind's like, well, I want to die, but I don't want him to die, so I guess I got to carry him out.
Yeah, because we swore oaths of friendship and brotherhood to each other. Gosh.
Yeah, and that's why you don't swear oaths with strangers, guys.
And then I actually, I expected Caramon to just carry Raceland out bodily, but Raceland does in the end kind of assent. He's like, oh yeah, fine, we'll go.
Yep.
While Caramon is like pleading with him, and then gets Caramon and Boo Boo to help him out. And then they all escape.
Yeah, they all take their stuff and leave, which is a smart maneuver.
Through the ruins, it's very dramatic as they go back the way they came.
Boulders are falling. The ground is splitting. It's pretty badass.
The
Draconians are appearing.
Riverwind chose to go out with incredible amounts of violence, so I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, he got his final stand, his like epic moment of like, yes, my lover is dead. I'm going to like rip and tear.
Yeah. And then even in the end, Raceland is just like manages to scare like the last Draconian away.
Yeah, because Raceland casts Fireball. It's pretty fucking rad.
Yeah, we love that spell.
Who among us doesn't love a good Fireball?
It's true.
The victim
Dungeon masters
at Fireball.
People playing on a grid.
People playing on a grid with the one guy who doesn't know how to do basic calculations, who keeps nuking their party with a fireball. Yeah, I'm looking at you, guy who I don't talk to anymore.
But they do make it out of the ruins and back to the. This would bring us into chapter 22, into the temple.
Yeah.
Where there's a bit of a split in the party. because Riverwind kind of disappeared. Flint is standing guard over the door. He's sitting by it.
True. Something Flint is very good at doing.
Oh, yeah. He's been pretty quiet during this whole arc.
He was. He really wasn't mentioned very much either.
That's why I was saying that I don't know how genuine his hatred towards the Gully Dwarves were, because he kind of just needed an excuse to go along with it. And the excuse was that he was going to like be a slave master to them, but then he didn't really even do that.
Yeah,
True. Yeah.
I mean, there was, besides being a weirdo racist about it, there wasn't a whole lot to really do when it came to the Gully Dwarves, because Raistlin did all of the carousing with the charm spell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, I suppose the player may have gone home. No, this was not a campaign first. The book is not based on a campaign. That is a myth. But but that would be the moment, right? As the player's gone home, and they're like, come on. He's like, okay, fine. And then he's like, bye, guys.
The player has to go home because whom's among us hasn't been there.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so yeah, not a lot of Flint time. But Flint, by and large, seems to be present for, like, I feel like 2 vibes, which is like one flavor of comic relief, usually when Tasselhoff needs a straight man. And then also like for those kind of like homey, like granduncle or grandfather moments, right?
Yeah. When I had a revelation as they were doing their kind of pseudo heist a little bit ago, their impromptu heist, where they were mentioning like the party movement order. They were like fighters up first, and then, you know, Tass was like, "Oh, Flint, you and I are always at the back." And it was like, well, Flint's technically a fighter, but I think like what that kind of reminded me is that Flint may be a fighter, but like he's so far past his prime. The man is so old. He's more here as like a mentor guiding the other fighters. He's capable on the front line, but like he should not be the front line guide anymore. He should be the guy helping them out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's the fighter who's in the back of the party in case enemies get to the back of the party where all the squishy people are. Like, you know, and that's accurate. I mean, I think that's accurate to the game too, because like, of course, we had age penalties and age bonuses in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, where characters who reached a certain life stage would adjust their stats, either bringing, and then the physical stats usually went down as characters aged. So, but their, you know, wisdom and other things would go up. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment for Mr. Flint Fireforge. I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chapter 22.
Chapter 22.
So,
Boo-Boo's gift, an ominous sight.
Surprise. Goldilocks ain't dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is lovely picture of some smoke on the horizon that looks a bit like a dragon.
Yeah, the door got kicked open, and we find out that Riverwind was about to do some stuff that Sturm approved of. That we found out. But yeah,
because of course the Knights of Solamnia are not just based on European knights. They're also based in part on like samurai and other honorable soldier orders around the world. So they do consider in Dragonlance, apparently they do consider these sort of acts of suicide or self-sacrifice to be honorable in nature.
Yeah.
Whereas Tanis is like, no, that's bullshit.
No, we don't do that here, guys.
Yeah.
What else happened? I mean, we get news from Gold Moon that she's been told her purpose. She is not supposed to be like the head of the new religion. She's just supposed to like be the one to bring the discs to that person, which
Mhm.
I always thought as a teenager was bullshit. I
Yeah.
understand. I understand that, like, you know, they can't have her the head of the religion. She's got to continue going on adventures, obviously.
Of
But, like,
course.
I always, like, as a kid, I was like, she's been through so much. This is bullshit. She should be the head of
Yeah.
the religion. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Uh,
There's
and
also some.
it led to, let me tell you, this
Yeah.
next book, I'm going to be a real hater for this character from what I remember, from this one character that is destined to become the head of the religion. Man, I'm that guy's number one hater.
Really?
Okay, I'm always here for William hatred.
And it's
Mhm.
purely because I still maintain those, like, angsty teenage feelings of that's not fair to Goldmoon.
It's really not. I mean, I think potentially there's also
There's
gods
more
are a
mixed
little-
into it. But yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. The gods of Dragonlance are a little political, right?
Yeah.
They've got their own kind of tension and like sort of ceasefire that exists between them because they're the three pantheons, right? Law, neutral, or good, evil, and neutrality. And I think nowadays I think that it maybe says less about Goldmoon and more about the politics of the situation, because of course Goldmoon is like she's from this quote unquote like barbarian peoples, these plains people. They're probably not thought of very highly by the other like major civilizations, right? Because they're probably seen as like more savage or like not as like civilized or as advanced as say like people in Palanthas or Solamnia or wherever else. So they might not be as likely to people might not be as likely to listen to her, even if she has the divine backing as like a low level cleric, right?
Yeah.
So there might be some political maneuvering going on there instead, because I don't know 100% if this is a spoiler. We can edit it out if we feel it is, but I feel that she does become the high priestess eventually.
I think it is like 6 books down the line or something like that.
Yeah. It's like they get it's in preparation for like another big world arc. But
which I mean isn't too big of a spoiler, because when we meet this guy, he's not young, you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's old.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think that there's an element there of that politicking, and I do agree with you though that Goldmoon deserves it, and it's unfair. It's not fair, but that's what makes Goldmoon is that she's not thinking about it in those terms.
Yep.
She's gracious.
She's better than I.
Yes, which is why you can be the petty one on her behalf.
Exactly. And then we get the separation where they leave Boo-Poo behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's quite a moment. In part because I think Raceland is still being nice to her, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to keep being nice to her because he doesn't need her anymore. And the friendship spell, I believe, may have even ended. I don't remember if that's mentioned or not.
I don't
think it's mentioned, but
I don't think it's mentioned. And my brain is 3.5 pilled, so like charm person friends like last for I think either minutes or hours per level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
here's
the spell did the original thing, and then like however long it lasted, it just like they had treated each other like good friends. And so like when the spell wore off, why would they stop being good friends? Because they'd just been treating each other that way for so long, and they had no actual enmity or reason to be angry at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least from Bupu's POV. From Raceland's POV, we see that he clearly did genuinely like this little gully gnome or gully dwarf.
Yeah, he actually like quite like deeply it seems because it's such a 180. And they kind of call out even in the narration, right, where Bupu is like crying because she wants to go with them, but she's gonna miss her people, and he's like, no, you have to stay. And having like, what is it, like a look of kindness or something on his face that no one in his world would ever see, right? Like not his family, not his friends, like it's only like this one person, Bupu, who will actually like see this side of him ever. And and then they even get into his head where they talk that like he knows, they specifically call it out at this point, that he knows what it feels like to be weak and miserable, an object of ridicule and pity. And like, so it's this one moment of like empathy from Raceland, and kind of indicating like, oh, well, he's an asshole, but like there's like actually a rather deep emotional reason for that, and it hasn't completely hardened him.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too. It's again why he's becoming he's tied with Dasselhoff.
Yeah. and then of course, as she's leaving, and she shakes her lizard at him, and he's like, no lizard for me, thank you. And then she gives him a book.
And it's got that like S written in it in the middle.
The cool S? Yeah.
It's got the cool S. He wrote the cool S inside because definitely don't worry about the guy. He was so young when he wrote this.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, 100% not an evil book. I'm not calling it out at all.
No, good old Fisty Bones. Come on, I'm
not calling him Fisty Bones.
Oh.
It'll grow on you.
It won't.
And then after that,
he has everything he wants now.
He does. He's got everything he wants. He's definitely gotten all the cool loot so far. Other than Flint's got his cool helmet. Raceland, like, he started the game with a fancy legendary staff.
Yeah.
And now he's also got a fancy legendary spell book. So like, yeah, the DM's playing favorites a little bit here.
Well,
just a little bit. But you got to for the wizards. They don't have a lot until later levels.
True. Yeah, I mean, when somebody looks at him wrong and he just kind of keels over and dies, I think the easiest thing to do is give him a magic stick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they do mention, of course, that like this spell book, it's gonna, because spells are leveled in Dragonlance, it's gonna take him weeks just to decipher the book, and even longer to actually like acquire and learn the spells and make them part of his repertoire.
Of
so,
evil bookness.
So he's got some planning to do, and also that's a bit of foreshadowing from the author saying that he's going to be around for a while.
Which, I'm here for. I like that.
Yeah.
We like
careening towards some.
It's hard to not like Raceland at this point.
It really is. In fact, I'm kind of glad that he's apparently going to be around for at least 2, if not 5 books. Yeah.
But after that, we get some distressing news.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Solace is burning.
Solace is burning. As hot as Raceland's eyes are burning at Flint.
Indeed. And so ends book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray. Austin, let's hear from you. We're here at a big milestone. Book 1. You have made it through to your first like big chunk of Dragonlance. What's going through your head?
So this has been the first time I've read a fantasy book in a very, very long time that wasn't just re-listening to Lord of the Rings on audiobook. And again, it's a vastly different experience than Lord of the Rings because there's more dragons. We love dragons here.
Many more dragons.
I've had a lot of fun with it. And I mean, it's nice because I get to hang out with friends and we get to talk about books.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely enjoy book clubs. I gotta get more active in the actual like chat here, but that is not tonight Austin's problem.
Yeah.
But overall, I have been enjoying it a lot. Like I said, a lot of my initial expectations have been changing and evolving as the books have been going on. Such as like, oh yes, I came in knowing, well, Kender were annoying, and the Soul Forged by Blind Guardian, good song, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about all I knew. And well, that and Racel was an edgy boy. And well, boy howdy, the Kender and the edgy boy are my favorite characters. So fuck me, what do I know?
Yep. I think something that I think something that like now that we're here at the end of book one, I think like I've had my first real revelation as to why the book is so enduringly popular, even if it's a little like even if it's really tropey, is
Right.
it's like a catchy song, you know? Like
Mhm.
you've heard bits of it in the background before, maybe you've listened to it a couple times, but like
Yeah.
when the chorus hits, you're always singing along. You can
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, that edgy Raceland guy."
Oh yeah.
But when he's doing his stuff, you're always there for it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
absolutely.
it's tropey, but it's impossible to not like go along with them, to like feel part of it, to like love these tropes as they're coming out.
Mm-hmm. It's like the novel version of like Journey. Like
Yeah,
like
fucking
Don't Stop
love
Believing.
Journey.
Like like not many people. I mean, even if you don't listen to Journey ever on your own time or under your own will, the moment like Don't Stop Believing or something comes on the radio, like you're tapping your foot or you're like humming along or you just like having a good vibe. Like
you're just fucking
yeah.
belting it. If you're
Yeah,
a
exactly.
real human.
Yes. Have gotten thrown out of a bar once or twice because of Journey.
They were in the wrong.
Yeah, they were in the wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no, they weren't. One of us put money into a jukebox to play Don't Stop Believing, and then we were all singing it really loud and everyone was having a good time. And then as soon as it was done, another friend put in and requested it again, and then a third friend did. It was bad.
And they booted you for that? America,
yeah.
used to be a real country.
Yeah, like what the hell?
Yeah. Adventures in Massachusetts. Right out into the cold winter snow.
Massachusetts.
Oh, well, there you go. But yeah, so no, I think you're right. I think it is like, I mean, I don't want to say it's the first fantasy novel to be super tropey, but like, is it? It's definitely the first to be super tropey in the way that Dungeons and Dragons consolidated a lot of fantasy tropes.
Yeah. I think a lot of it feels tropey a little bit in retrospect. It was definitely tropey even at the time. That like you read the reviews that came out right as it came out, and everyone was like, "This is very tropey." But like it feels tropier now than it probably even did then,
of
because it inspired so many tropes.
Yeah,
like the Raceland type of wizard, that like I don't really think that was a trope before him. They were all kindly Gandalf types.
Mm-hmm. Which is what makes Raceland, I think, so interesting. Right down to like they're like he's got gold skin and these hourglass pupils, and everything he sees is dying, and he's sinister and me, but he's also one of the good guys for some reason. And like, yeah, it's he's kind of an inversion, isn't he? Actually, he's young and looks weird, and yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So in regards to what we'll be reading next time, I think based off of what I've been seeing flipping through this, if we all read up to chapter 8 of this second book, that's only about 60 pages. There's some short chapters in this one.
Yes.
Does that sound good to you guys? That gets us solidly into some stuff. We get to meet the character where I become obnoxious.
Yes.
Yeah, I could do that.
And then in about a book's time, we'll meet the character where Auntie becomes obnoxious.
Yeah.
And then I have been obnoxious all along.
Excellent. Yes, yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody. I just got a quick question for everyone. For strangers who might have come across this randomly. Hey, Auntie, where could people find you on the internet if they were looking for you?
That's right. We didn't do that at the start, did we? Well, they can find me at youtube.com/@AuntieHauntie. As in AUNTIE HAUNTIE. Games. GAMES. Yeah, at Auntie Hauntie Games on YouTube, or just Auntie Hauntie on YouTube, although that channel hasn't got anything on it yet. And any other social media.
Hey, William SRD. If for some reason somebody had no idea who the hell you were.
I mean, after
unlikely.
What's it been? 5 episodes of this podcast? I would hope they have already found me. But if they haven't, hi, I'm William SRD. I make videos about D&D video games and such things, such ephemera. And you can find me at the William SRD YouTube channel or on Blue Sky.
Huzzah.
Yeah. I am Austin, co-host. You can find me here or on a paywalled podcast. I'm also on this other thing with these other creators here called The Handful of Nerds. It's my favorite project. It's my little baby, and I love it to death. We have started posting episodes. It's real. It wasn't just an April Fool's prank.
It's true.
I am also on Blue Sky, and I have cat pictures with, I think, more incoming.
Oh, hell yeah.
Everybody likes cat pictures on the internet.
He's got this baby little cat now.
Yeah, she chose violence this morning, and I'm still mad. I'm so tired, guys.
Well, we will let you go to bed. So then, to all of the listeners, for the first time in our lives, watch out for dire wolves.
They're so cute.